is someone who recently renewed his membership to Toastmasters. And we're lucky that he chose Butter and Toast. So this speech number 9, is 9 years in the making. Because his last speech 8, was in 2009. Yeah. So let's give a big warm round of applause to our next speaker who will be doing speech number 9, Persuade with Power. And am I right, John? You will be...
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Don't complain. So please read the objectives of his speech. Speech number 9.
Okay. Follow your objectives are to persuade listeners to adopt your viewpoint or ideas or to take some action. Appeal to the audience. Number 2, appeal to the audience's interests. Number 3, use logic and emotion to support your position. And lastly, avoid using notes. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. Good luck to you.
So his evaluator is John Benicilio. So the title of his speech is Role Playing, not the Kinky title. So please help me welcome speaker, our third speaker for tonight, Toastmaster Paulo.
Has anyone heard of role-playing games? Okay, great. Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes.
Great. Or have you heard of the term satanic panic? It's this term during the 1980s where media outlets would demonize role-playing games because they would be activities for antisocial behavior, Satanism, and suicidal tendencies. I remember hearing about that in Magandang Gabi Bayan when I was a kid. But I'm glad to report that various studies have debunked this, and role-playing games have been flourishing for these past few years. In fact, they are being used as therapeutic and educational tools. Now, you've been staring at this guy for a while. Does he kind of look familiar? No? Has anyone seen Magic Mike?
Yes.
Yeah. So so he's from Magic Mike. He's the fireman, and he plays a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. As you can see from the previous photo, he's teaching kids in the hospital to play. These are kids who cannot leave because of long-term illnesses. So if they can't go to the outside world, he's bringing the outside world to them. And that's why I want to talk about role-playing games. Now, what are role-playing games? These are cooperative, structured, but improvised, interactive storytelling. You are telling a story with someone, you're getting feedback, and you're adjusting the story as you go along. And that's how it pretty much goes. It happens inside a table and using pen and paper and your imagination. With role-playing games, there's usually 2 parties. The first party would be the game master. He's the narrator, he creates the world. His job is to make a fun and compelling story for the player characters. And the player characters are everyone else. They are the players. Their job is to live inside that world. They can talk to anyone, they can do whatever the hell they want, pretty much even this. And they can even go off script. The narrator, right? He creates a convoluted, perfect plan, and these guys, they will fudge it up. They will do whatever they want. They can talk to someone they're not supposed to talk to, kill someone they're not supposed to talk to, and that's the game. That's how it becomes fun. It's this balance of control and chaos. Now, if fun isn't really what you're after, let's say, oh my God, satanic panic, there must be something validating about these bad things, then maybe I can talk to you about the benefits of role-playing games. Now, as I said, a role-playing game is an interactive storytelling. You're not just telling a story, you're interacting it with someone. That means your brain is all fired up. You're processing languages, you're processing causality, and you're relating it as you go along. It has to be seamless. So your brain has to be creative in doing it. And at the same time, as you're telling your story, people are reacting to it. And you have to improvise, you have to be quick on your feet because they don't know your story and you have to adjust to make your story their story. Now, the thing about this is it's a game of balances. And with balances, there's imbalance. There can be a lack of empathy in this game because if you are a game master, you've created something perfect. You've spent weeks for these people and you want them to do exactly as you want to do. But it can be a bad thing. It's called railroading. There's a term for it. But as a player, it goes the opposite way. You create the perfect character and you want to do something, but it may not necessarily be what everyone wants to do. And that's why in this game, you need to learn humility to realize and empathize what others actually want to do. It's a game of balances between control and chaos again, but there's a fine line between balance that you're trying to achieve where it's fun. And that's what you're trying to do. Thank you. And lastly, I talked about our role-playing games being used for educational and therapeutic uses. Therapy. Normally, when you play a game like this, it's an escape to another world. And you'd think that maybe I don't want to play this with someone whose grasp on reality is very loose. Someone with schizophrenia, someone with depression, but there have been studies that showed that using role-playing games in a structured and controlled environment with a professional can help them relate to others, express their fears and doubts and their emotions in a safe, controlled environment. And for this example, this is from an article with Vice News. It talks about inmates in a maximum security prison. We're talking about hardcore criminals. And they are allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons, but no dice. They term it as gambling, so they're using cards. And by being able to play Dungeons and Dragons, they are able to foster cooperation and positive social attitudes they can practice in the outside world. They'd never be able to practice in a hostile maximum security prison. And at the end of the day, role-playing games are built from the ground up to be cooperative. It's a game about not having winners or losers. It's about having fun. It's a game where you just relax and not be competitive when life is already competitive enough. And it's a game where it's not about the journey, it's a destination and the friends you meet along the way. Thank you.